Okay, giant experiment. Hi, everybody. Hi, Shan. I'm trying a big experiment today. I am trying to stream across platforms, so it will be interesting. Um, and if it doesn't work, please confuse me because please forgive me because I thought it would just give it a try. Hey, everybody. Let's see, what do we got here? Hi. All right, it's on. Oh, this is very exciting. Hey, so I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds for people to come on. We have a lot to talk about today. We've got the government shutdown that is almost definitely going to happen. It sounds like I'm already starting off confused. Yeah, exactly. We've got the government shutdown. We have got free speech attacks. We have the real reason behind the free speech attacks. We can talk a little bit about Epstein. And elections that are coming up, which I think it's really, really important for us to talk about. I really want to get people fired up about elections that are coming. And I want to talk about some new polling that just came out as well, because I think you'll be excited about it. So let's see. Okay, good. We're cooking with oil now. So let's start out by talking about, I know there's a lot going on and I know it's been another just absolutely horrible week. So I want to start out by, thank you. Thank you for the gifts. I want to start out by just saying it's good to see you all. The reason I am now going to try to stream this on other platforms as well is just because I feel like there's a real need for community and a real need for just coming together and sort of taking a breath together, especially after these weeks that are just, I don't even know how to describe, like the amount of stuff that happens and the deeply disturbing stuff that happens in a single week is, it's really hard to process. What I will say is I actually feel, yes, every week does get worse in a way, but I also feel like in some ways, oh, thank you very much, Vidisha. In some ways, I felt like this was a turning point this week, and I'm going to tell you why. I think I realized it when I got to the protest yesterday that I did post about. So, Jimmy Kimmel, this whole thing that's happened with him being suspended, on top of the fact that we were already having attacks on free speech from Pam Bondi. And we had already seen that even MAGA was responding very badly to her coming out and saying, like, be careful what you say. We're going to come after you. We had places like the Wall Street Journal starting to say, like, we really don't like attacks on free speech. And there was another even further right um, organization that did the same thing. So I was already feeling like they were kind of going down a bad road for them to do this. And then when the attacks came on Jimmy Kimmel, what we have seen is a huge backlash, not just from the left, but from the right. And I think that maybe MAGA is forgetting that a large part of their base are like free speech extremists. And yeah, you might think, well, yeah, but that's only on their side. But they're not stupid people, particularly the podcasters, the influencers, the people who are going out and putting their voices out there. They understand that this is a sword that cuts both ways. It just does. And we've had enough of them. Tucker Carlson, Karl Rove, who a lot of you may not know who he is, but I'm old enough to remember when he was the most sinister Republican in public life. Like he was, I don't, was sort of the Steve Bannon of his day, but less drunk. And even he is coming out and saying this is wrong and this is bad. We had Jeff Flake coming out and calling Donald Trump a snowflake, basically, for this, and just a bunch of other Republicans coming out. And I'll tell you what happened yesterday. I was as upset as everybody else, right? Found out about this protest at Disney very last minute, ran over there. And I'll tell you something, like the energy there at that protest, and not just the energy of the people there, but the cars driving past. And Burbank is, it's like we're in a mostly left area, but it's not solely left. And I'll tell you, it was deafening. People we're just really upset. And we're seeing it, I'm feeling it. I'm getting text messages from people who are like, okay, I've been sitting on the sidelines. I have to do something. We're getting a lot more interest in the October 18th protest. I feel like they've really overstepped on this one in a way that is going to hurt them with their own base. And when you combine that with the fact that we've also seen, and it's a little bit like people aren't maybe paying quite as much attention this week because there's been so much going on. But I just dropped a video about it. Kash Patel going into hearings this week and saying that there was no trafficking ring, that it was only Epstein, right? As if everyone in America is so stupid that they cannot, you know, see the incredibly clear facts right in front of them. So going from his confirmation hearings, which I clipped in this video, where he's like, I will do anything to get to the bottom of this. You know, trafficking is never okay. We will follow all the leads. Fast forward to this week where he says there was nobody other than Jeffrey Epstein. It was just him acting alone. Like, literally, I don't know a 2-year-old who would believe that. Okay, maybe 2-year-olds would have no idea what we were talking about, but no one would believe that who was under the age of 10. So there's that. And then just was it today? I added this also in the video. Thomas Massey comes out and says, I gave him a file with 20 names. He has a file with 20 names. And he's either pretending he doesn't know about it or he's ignoring it. And then Representative Massey came out and said to this reporter, I believe that Donald Trump is covering up for rich and powerful people, and that is why they are preventing this file from coming out. And you guys, if we can draw the line between the attacks on free speech and the cover up on the Epstein files and everything else that's going on, the incredible corruption. I have another video I'm going to make as soon as I have time about Tiffany Trump going out on a yacht this week with an oil baron who was in the middle of negotiating a deal with her father-in-law, who works for the Trump administration, to like buy or drill a bunch of oil in Africa. So like the corruption, the crypto deals, the grift is shocking. So you've got the grift and the corruption, and then you've got this what has really become just a staggering cover up of the Epstein files. I mean, you can't call it anything else. It is shocking. There are thousands of bank transfers in the Epstein files that, is it Senator Merkley, I believe, did a whole presentation about them. There's hundreds of witnesses talking about the things that have happened to them. There's thousands of hours of testimony. Ghislaine Maxwell, or Ghislaine, or however you say her name, she herself was a trafficker. Like, for Kash Patel to sit there and say Jeffrey Epstein acted alone is shocking. It is shocking. In any other news week, this would be a huge deal. And then to go on and hear that, Massey he's got a folder, which is no surprise. He's got all kinds of information he's not releasing, but I'm really sort of hopeful that the American people are going to start to put this all together. And as I said at the end of the video I just released, the common thread is that they want to lie and cover up the truth in order to protect the rich and powerful. Meanwhile, the rest of us are literally getting thrown. Okay, it's not literal. Let's be careful here. Not literally, metaphorically, getting thrown under the bus. We are getting thrown under the bus. Our healthcare is getting more expensive. There's no nutritional assistance. Food banks are overwhelmed with people who are hungry. There are entire states, we learned this week, who may have to drop the SNAP program because of the cuts that the federal government made. Entire states who may just have to get rid of it. And we knew that was going to happen. We knew it. And they didn't care. And it goes on and on and on in every single area, right? Americans are we're getting the shaft. Unions are being crushed. Workers are, losing privileges they used to have. Someone sent me a text today about an environmental justice project that the Biden administration had funded in Louisiana to clean up an incredibly dirty, polluted area where predominantly Black and very poor people live. And the Trump administration just pulled the plug on it. Like, they just don't care about anyone but the billionaire class, who they are protecting with the Epstein files, who they are protecting by making sure that mergers and acquisitions go through as long as those people, say the right things about Donald Trump, who they are protecting with giant tax cuts, the healthcare companies they are protecting by jacking up premiums or helping them to jack up premiums, all of it, the pharmaceutical companies, all of it. Meanwhile, we are watching prices go up. We're watching the tariffs, which are insane and hurting us, a sales tax on us. We are watching hospitals shut down, clinics shut down, Medicaid cut, SNAP cut, a tax on Social Security, Affordable Care Act premiums about to explode. Republicans just today voted against extending those premium tax credits, just today. And I really hope that Americans can draw the line between all of these things and really see that this, I'm not saying all Republicans for all time. I think it's really important that we distinguish between the sort of classical Republican, people who've been Republican their entire life, and Reagan Republicans with whom I still disagree vehemently on most things, but they're not crooks. These people are crooks. And everything they do is part of a grift to cover up the truth so that the rich and powerful stay rich and powerful. And oh my God, Shannon, can you block John, please? So this is what I'm sort of cautiously optimistic that people are starting to see it. And again, what I really want people to focus on when they talk to people with whom they maybe have, argued in the past is just ask, like, are you better off? Like, how's your wallet? How's your savings account? Are you working? Are your loved ones working? How is that going? How are your health insurance premiums? How are businesses around you doing? I know that small businesses around here are struggling already with the tariffs and are set to struggle much more. And again and again and again, reminding each other today's Republican Party has one tactic other than lying, and that is dividing. Divide and lie. Lie and divide. And they are investing a lot in dividing us, right? It's not just Russia and China, but the Republican Party itself has got bots, it's got propaganda, it's got a whole giant, very expensive industry to keep us divided. Why? Because if we stop fighting each other, we will finally all take on the common opposition, which is the mega wealthy and the corporate class who are just shafting Americans in a way that is unspeakable. And quite frankly, if you go to any other country, any other peer nation in the world, they go, how? Why do you live that? Why do you let them? Why do you let them? Why do we let them? Because we're busy fighting with each other. And until we are, it's almost like an inoculation is necessary. Like with John, that guy who just posted, like, you're a woman, no one wants to hear what you have to say. Like, he might have been a real person, he might have been a bot. Either way, I have inoculated myself where people like that, it's literally like a dog barking. And I know that that is meant to anything, any attack online is meant to sort of keep me angry and fighting with somebody else I don't want to fight. I am interested in unifying with working Americans, with everybody whose income is below the like mega rich level, and working to take our country back or to take it really for the first time. In some ways, we just have not really had an America that worked for all of us ever. But I'll tell you, it's been way better than it is now. Now's bad. But anyway, I just want to say that um, that I know things are so grim right now, and I am not trying to blow smoke. I'm not trying to tell anybody that like everything's great. It's not. It's not at all. But I really do feel there's a slowly escalating sort of situation that I think that Donald Trump is going to find himself in, where he's made enough people really angry, including people from his own base. And I don't know if any of you saw the clip from Flagrant podcast today. I sort of keep tabs on them because thank you. Because, them and some of the other bro podcasts, like, I like to see what they're saying, because those are the uh, people, trying not to curse, who essentially got Trump over the edge in this very, very, very close election, right? They were the ones who in the last week put him over the edge. And so I like to see what they say. And one of them said today or yesterday when they recorded their podcast, everything that fucking guy said was a lie. That was his line. I just cursed. What are you going to do? Everything that guy said was a lie, because Donald Trump said, among other things, that he was going to sign an executive order on day one to protect free speech. And now look what he's doing. So the more Americans realize that everything that guy said was a lie, and some of us knew it, we've known it for a long time, but a lot of people do not pay attention, and they're waking up. And so my hope is that, so that is happening. We are seeing his approval ratings plummet. And before you say, well, that doesn't matter, it does matter. It matters a great deal, because you start to see Republicans and even Democrats get more courageous when they see that Trump is getting weaker with the electorate. It makes them feel more willing to buck him. An unpopular president is just weak, no matter how much he tries to pretend he's not unpopular, lie about his poll numbers, bluster, bully. The fact of the matter is, Americans hate the job he's doing. And it's really interesting if you look at historical approval ratings for presidents. So Donald Trump's approval ratings already are historically the lowest of any president since polling has begun. There, you cannot believe it. And if you go to G. Elliott Morris, he's got a great Substack called Strength in Numbers, and there's a page that he keeps all the time for data. And if you scroll down, he shows you all the approval ratings of every president in recent history. And Trump's line is so far below every single one of them. They're like occasionally one of them will dip down for like a second, but he's down there the whole time. Like he comes in already low, even though it seems higher than it should be for him. And then he just goes down. And his approval ratings right now are terrible. He's hemorrhaging support with the groups that put him into office. So with Latino voters, with Black voters, with young voters. Even a majority of men now don't approve of him, which I think is the first time. But also on individual issues. On crime, he's underwater. On immigration, he's underwater, although he's better on those two things than he is on anything else. But then on everything else, the economy, tariffs, inflation, terrible, terrible. And we're still in the good part, you guys. Like the economy is not getting better anytime soon. It's just not. It's the sad truth is that he's going to hold on to these tariffs, and they are going to, it's going to be bad. And that's just the sad truth is that economists predicted everything that's happened so far. And what they predicted was that we would be in a recession by the end of 2025. And everything is going in that direction. Consumer confidence, jobs numbers, inflation numbers, CPI numbers, all of it. And I'm not saying that that's terrible. I'm not happy about that, but that is just where we are. And unfortunately, I'll answer that question in a second about the Disney protests. Unfortunately, a lot of Americans will not pay attention until the economy is bad enough that they have to. So that's where we are. The Disney protests, I don't know if they're continuing over the weekend. I certainly hope so. I will look into that. I know people were going over there today. I know that I would guess that they probably will, but I'm not 100% sure. The big protest that everybody who can should put in their calendars, and I mean, really, if you can, like, this is the protest that every American needs to show up at, unless they are like getting married or, if you have a disability, whatever. Obviously, not you, but really important. October 18th, plenty of time to plan. It's going to be a beautiful day. And before you say, well, I'm scared, and I mean, every single protest we've had so far, people have said in advance, I'm scared. What if there's violence? Every single one has been peaceful. Every single one has been peaceful. There was one incident at one march that was unfortunate and not even really related to right-wing violence at all. They've been peaceful. There's lots of police out there, which some people actually does not think makes it safer, but there are people protecting you theoretically. And it's so important. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the 3.3.5% theory. Have you guys heard of that? Is that do people know about this? I'm going to just tell you, just in case you don't. Your son got pepper sprayed in Pittsburgh when Trump was there? Okay, well, that is really unfortunate. I mean, there's a lot of pepper spraying in Los Angeles, too, when the National Guard was here. But these No Kings protests, when, they have been the No Kings, the sort of peaceful protests that we have been doing, these large scale protests, hands off, those have been peaceful. I mean, there's always a risk. There's a risk when I get in my car. You know what I mean? Like, but it is I don't know if any of you saw my video about Heather Booth, but when you look at what those kids risk to go down to the South and register voters, I'm not saying I want to risk anything physically, but like at a certain point, I was afraid going to Disney yesterday. I was like, oh, I don't know. It was great. It was fantastic. So I am not going to let fear control my actions. I'm going to go out on October 18th and I'm going to bring everybody I know. You don't have to be an expert on politics to go. You don't have to have ever been to a protest before. You don't have to have a sign. You can have a sign or you don't need a sign. Just wear a hat, bring some water, and be a body. It's very important. So the whole idea behind this 3.5% rule is that when you're fighting authoritarianism, the one thing that has been proven to be effective over and over again, it's not violence, not at all. It is peaceful, continued protest. And when you can get 3.5% of a population to peacefully protest in a sustained way, not one time, but like until things change, that basically every time has led to the defeat of the authoritarian government. It's not like a magic pill. It's not like the minute you hit that number, they just go away, but it's a phenomenon that has been studied. So we got up to about 5-6 million at the No Kings March, the last one, which is, I think, if not either one of the biggest or the biggest protest in American history. 3.5% of the American population is 11 million people. So what we're trying to do is just keep increasing the numbers, just keep bringing people out. I would love to see us get to 11 million in this March, but even if we don't, I'd love to see us get to 8 million or 9 million so that those numbers are building towards where we need them to go. Because once people go to a march, they are more likely to go back to another march because they're like, oh my God, that was so fun. It's so fun, you guys. It's so fun. And also they start to feel like, hey, maybe I will, maybe I'll do a visibility brigade thing. Maybe I will join an indivisible group. Maybe I'll run for office in my town. Maybe I'll go to the city council meeting, whatever. What we need right now is for everyone to engage in democracy, even though we feel hopeless about democracy. And this is something that I talk about a lot, is this idea that just because we feel a certain way does not mean that we are right about what's going to happen. And that hope and patriotism right now looks like taking action, even though we feel like everything is just going to hell. And again, I want to return to what I heard from civil rights activist Heather Booth this week when she came and spoke to our group. She's 80 years old. She's been an activist not since she was 18, as I said in the video, I got that wrong, since she was 13. She started protesting at 13, protesting the death penalty. And she was talking about going to Mississippi for Freedom Summer. And she was talking about, the people who perished there, not just people who had come down to register voters, but the family she stayed with. 4 people they lost. And she said in the midst of all of that, that summer, they felt so hopeless. They did not feel hopeful. They were not like, yay, we're, Freedom Summer, we're going to be in the history books. No, not at all. They felt completely hopeless, devastated by what was happening, and afraid. But she said that they looked at each other and said, are you willing to die for freedom? And they said, yeah. And no one's even asking us to do that. They're just asking us to live for freedom. But as Heather pointed out, what happened was a year later, the Voting Rights Act passed. And were they a part of that? Absolutely. Did they know at the time that they were a part of that? Absolutely not. So courage, patriotism, hope is taking the action when you have no idea whether that action is working or not. And even when you feel like it's probably not, that is when it matters. Because the one thing we do know is that nothing is going to change if we all go, oh, forget it. I give up. This is terrible. I'm going to go watch Netflix and just give up. And I know there are people who are doing that, but that is not how change happens. Change happens when people go, this is brutal. This is unbelievably hard and scary, and I am going to keep going. And as hard as this is right now, we got nothing on the people who, the Black Americans who worked through the civil rights era and lived through Jim Crow. We just don't. Like, we got nothing on them. So they could do it. We can do it. And we've got so many more tools, in social media, and just there's so many more ways for us to connect. So yeah, it's really hard right now. And it's important to be able to say that and say, this is painful. It is hard. Every morning I wake up and go, oh my God, another day. But then I get up and I fight. And that's what's important. Not how I feel. It's what I do. Of course, when we feel really wrecked, also, it's important to go take care of ourselves. But so all of that now, okay, I got a little sidetracked. That is all really important sort of context. And I want to say that I'm feeling hopeful right now because of all of that, because Trump's approval ratings are crashing, because the economy continues to, downslide, which I'm not happy about, but at least that will prove something to a lot of Americans who otherwise seem unwilling to pay attention. Um, the other thing that gives me a certain amount of hope right now is this funding battle that's happening. I'm going to give you a little bit of a background on it because not everybody is familiar with this, but I know that this is boring for some people. I want to ask you to see if you can pay attention because it's actually really important and it matters for, if nothing else, all of our healthcare. So right now, the government, as we know, is about to shut down again on September 30th, right? Because Republicans keep passing these stopgap bills. They can't pass proper budgets, so they've been kicking the can down the road, and they kicked the can down to September 30th last time. Do you all remember when Chuck Schumer kind of caved and didn't fight with them? And so they got this stopgap funding bill passed, and we were all really, really upset with Chuck Schumer. Well, here we are. At that time, we said the next chance that we're going to have any leverage against Republicans is going to be in September. Well, here we are. We're in September. And what happened today was that Republicans tried to pass what they call a clean CR. It means a continuing resolution that just basically keeps everything exactly status quo for the next 7 weeks. And no changes and no, improvements, not improvements. But Democrats have promised this time that they will not vote for a budget that doesn't extend the Affordable Care Act uh, premium subsidies. And for those of you who don't know, this will affect about 20 million Americans who use these tax premium credits to afford their health insurance. And they run out at the end of the year. And if they're not renewed, it's estimated that we're going to be looking at about a 75% increase in our bills, and that about 4 to 5 million Americans will lose their health insurance because they just can't pay that. So, and this is something Republicans know damn well is important to Americans. And also, when those premiums go up, premiums everywhere go up. The more people are uninsured, the more premiums go up for private healthcare, for all healthcare, right? Because you've got more uninsured people going into hospitals, more what they call uncompensated care. That makes it more expensive for everybody. We're basically contributing to paying for those people. So, what the Democrats have said is we want those tax credits extended permanently. And the reason they're saying permanently and not temporarily is because what Republicans like to do is extend things just far enough so that they get a win in like the midterms. And they've done this with the Medicaid cuts, don't kick in until right after the midterms. Some of the SNAP cuts don't kick in until right after the midterms. They like to put off the consequences until they can't be blamed anymore. And Democrats are saying, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We want permanent extensions of those tax credits. And Democrats said we want the Medicaid cuts reversed, all of them. And if not, we're not voting for this. So in the House, we did not have enough votes to stop it because we're in the minority in the House. In the Senate, we are also in the minority, but Republicans require 60 votes to get this bill passed because this bill is subject to the filibuster. The filibuster requires 60 votes to overcome. So they need 7 Democratic votes. They have 53 Republicans. They need 7 Democratic votes, and Democrats have aligned and said, we are not going to pass this bill until we get those tax premium subsidies and until they reverse the cuts on Medicaid. So obviously the vote happened today, and every Republican opposed that except for 2. Who were they? Lisa Murkowski and not Josh Hawley. Oh, what's his name? God. It'll come to me in a second. The guy with the fuzzy hair. He's Rand Paul, libertarian. Rand Paul and Lisa Murkowski voted for that, and everybody else didn't. So it failed. So Republicans all voted against healthcare, and all Democrats, except for John Fetterman, because he's, John Fetterman, voted for healthcare. So what happens now is that Republicans are about to go on a break next week. Congress is off, except for, I believe, Friday. So by the time they come back, they're one day away from a shutdown. And what that means essentially is that the government is going to shut down. And what Democrats are hoping and trusting in is that Americans will understand this and understand what they're trying to do. And this is where you guys can help. This is where we need your help. And this is why I'm going to such lengths to explain this to you, because it is important that we go out and we talk to people and explain to them that Democrats have leverage here to try to reverse some of the worst healthcare cuts, and they are using it. And Republicans are stonewalling them. But Republicans also have full control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So if there is a shutdown, they own it. They own the shutdown. They own the fact that they have cut healthcare so dramatically that Democrats are pushed to this extreme to try to get some of those cuts reversed. And we'll see. Chuck Schumer sounds like he is in a much more decisive place this time than he was last time. And I'm going to tell you why. Because, first of all, I mean, his approval ratings are absolutely in the toilet, but also Trump's approval ratings have gone down. He feels like he's got more, solid ground to stand on. The big BS bill that cut the health care has terrible approval ratings. Americans hate it. The vast majority of Americans hate that bill. It's one of the most unpopular bills passed in modern history. And so Democrats know that Americans want they want those ACA premiums extended. They want the Medicaid cuts reversed. And so when we talk about this and say Democrats are totally happy to keep the government open, as long as we get those Medicaid cuts reversed and we get those ACA premium tax credits extended permanently. They will. They are willing to, of course, keep the government open. They just want to protect our health care. So when you talk to people, please frame it that way, because that's what's happening. Because Democrats are in the minority, they have virtually no leverage but this. And they are trying to use it to extract some concessions from Republicans who are generally behaving in a lawless way and in a completely partisan way. They haven't even been willing to sit down with Democrats on this budget bill. Literally, no negotiations. Trump has told them, don't talk to the Democrats. So, in a situation like that, they want Democrats to come in and vote for a package that they won't even talk to Democrats about? No. So, when you call your Democratic lawmakers, please encourage them to keep a stiff spine. We have a negotiating chip here, and we got to use it. So that is that useful? And yeah, I see somebody saying Jeffries is useless. You guys, I have been calling, those of you who come on my live every week, I have. We need new leadership desperately. I cannot abide the leadership of either Jeffries or Schumer. We need them both to step aside. We need to replace them with people who are pugilists, who are fighters, who are absolutely merciless in a moment like this. People like J.B. Pritzker and Gavin Newsom, who I also don't like, by the way. But I know a fighter when I see one, and I know someone who knows how to fight in a situation when their back is against a wall. See, we can do that. We can not like a politician, but still support them in certain contexts. And that's what I'm doing with Newsom. But all we can do, like, if I could snap my fingers and make those leaders both, step down and just become regular members of the caucus and get two other people up there, I would, but I can't. So what I can do is every time I call my representative, if I happen to have Democratic representatives, I mention at the end of the call, no matter what else I'm calling about, by the way, we have lost faith in Democratic leadership. Please call for new leadership elections. We need new leaders. If you're calling your House representative, you can say, we need a new leader. Jeffries is a great guy, would probably be great under normal circumstances. He is not the right man for this moment. I'm trying to be kind. You know what I mean? I have a lot of differences with Jeffries, honestly, across the board, and the AIPAC money and the Mom Downey stuff is just absurd. It's obscene. And Schumer is the same, basically. So if you're calling your Democratic senator, say that. We need new leadership. Having said that, it is also important that we think about, like, is this the right moment to focus all of my wrath on Democrats? Or is this a moment when maybe I'm going to focus most of my wrath? I mean, yeah, I get mad. I call Jeffries, I call Schumer, I complain about them. But like, I'm going to be really clear that the enemy here is this, that we have a authoritarian breakthrough happening right now. Full stop. This is authoritarianism. So the Democratic Party, as I've said before, if we're in a fire, right? We're in the woods and a fire breaks out. We have to get out of the woods or we're going to perish. There is a car. Are we going to look at the car and go, I don't like that kind of car. I'm not taking that car. I hate those cars. I'm waiting for a better. No, right? The Democratic Party is the car right now. We're going to get in the car and we're going to drive. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time beating up the car that's getting me out of the fire. Once I'm out of the fire, then I can beat up the car if I still want to. But so, look, man, I'm 57. Like, I see things in a way that is more nuanced, maybe because I just have been around long enough to see that, like, the perfect is the enemy of the good enough in this situation. I don't like our leadership, but I tend to doubt it's going to change in the next month. And this month is when we have our big fight. So, you know, that's that. So, okay, it's 4:36. I'm dying of heat. Hey, those of you who are on other platforms, let me know, like, send me an email or a DM and just tell me how this is working, because I've never done this before. So I'm going to just close by saying that I usually do about 40 minutes and we're coming up on that. First of all, Shannon, thank you as always. You are the best moderator on earth. We're not doomed. We're not doomed. Here's the thing. We have elections coming up next year. Yes, I think we're going to have elections. Do I think that Donald Trump is going to try to mess with them in all kinds of ways and suppress the vote wildly? Yeah, I do. But you guys, there is no way Republicans would be throwing the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars into redistricting, hundreds of millions into stopping the redistricting in California and into redistricting Texas and Missouri and these other states unless they also were confident that we were going to have elections next year. They know we're going to have elections next year. This is why they're, talking about maybe trying to get a crime bill passed right before the midterms, because they're strategizing about how to win in a situation when basically America is very upset and angry and disappointed with the Republican Party. So, do I think we're going to have elections? Yes, I do. And I think that acting as if we're not is exactly what they want us to do. That's exactly what they want. Yes, give in now. Obey in advance. That's what they want. I'm not going to do it. And I very much hope that you won't either. Again, we got to channel the people who came before us who faced way worse than this. If they could do it, we can do it. So I'm going to close with this, really. This time I'm really closing. In November, we have critically important elections in New Jersey, right? Gubernatorial and state legislative. In Pennsylvania, we have 3 Supreme Court retention races. If that court flips to Republicans, that could mean a presidential election someday, right? So it doesn't seem sexy. It is really important. We've got Virginia, again, gubernatorial, state legislative, and I believe attorney general. We've got New York City, Zoran Mamdani. In my heart, almost the most important race in the country, although, I mean, it doesn't affect federal stuff as much, but goddamn, that guy's got to win. And then, of course, we have California's Proposition 50, which could make the difference between us winning the midterms or not. If we are able to redraw our maps and pick up those 5 seats, maybe that's the margin in the midterms. Maybe that's whether we win the midterms or not. So I'm going to say this and I'm going to sound a little bossy, but like, if you're freaked out about what's happening right now and you're not working on one of those elections, you're missing the boat. Everybody can do something. You can write some postcards, you can give some money, some of us can go out and canvass. I know I'm going to. Some of us can phone bank. We can write an email and just to people we know who live in those places. Hey, just want to make sure you're registered and you're planning on voting. These elections are critical. I believe we're going to win all of them. I feel pretty confident, but not because it's going to happen by magic, but because I've been watching what's been happening with every single special election. Democrats have overperformed in 39 out of 41 special elections, and the average swing is 16 points in our direction, you guys. But what we want is, how can we request you? Oh, email me about that. Sorry. What we want is massive margins. We want to destroy them electorally. Okay, very clear. We're talking about voting. We want this to be a rout. And all that does, not only do we secure two governor seats that we don't have, well, we have a Democratic governor in New Jersey, but we hold that seat. And then we flip the governor seat in Virginia. That's two more states with strong Democratic governors. As you see, Democratic governors are fighting back against Republicans more than anybody. And then also we flip state houses. We can pass laws to protect people's health care, to protect abortion rights, to protect all LGBTQ people. Like, this has real impacts on people's lives. Huge. Whether or not SNAP gets continued in these states could come down to these elections, right? Zoran Mamdani winning would be a tidal wave in the history of this country in the best possible way. And again, the California ballot measure could determine whether or not we win the midterms. So we've got things to get involved in. We want to win, and we want to win massively. So if you don't subscribe to my newsletter, I'm regularly putting ways to win. I will, when I can get to it, put them in the link tree as well. But the best way is just subscribe to my newsletter. It's free, or just email me and I'll send you something. But it's really important. And I'll tell you something. When we get into action, despair tends to recede. It's not that I don't still feel scared or anxious or so upset over the real abuses that are happening, but when I start doing things, I feel tremendously better, more powerful, calmer, and like I am part of the solution. And suddenly, when we start acting, we feel like there is a solution. When I went out to that march yesterday, the protest at Disney, you can see in the video my demeanor on my way there. I was kind of a little bit angry and a little bit grim. And then at the end, just elated, because it is elating to be with your fellow Americans fighting for your freedoms. And working on these elections is part of that. So I really urge you, whether we feel hope or not, we don't have to feel hope to take hopeful action. And that's what I'm going to ask everybody to do. I'm going to wrap this up. Let me know if you liked this cross-streaming thing. And I'll just close by saying the thing I always say, and sorry for those of you who have heard it before, but please remember that we do stand on the shoulders of giants. And they are watching to make sure that we don't drop the fight that they carried so bravely. And it's such great sacrifice. We stand on their shoulders. There is power coming to us through those shoulders. And remember that we are building shoulders that someday people will stand on as well. That someday people will be looking to us for our example. They will be looking back and saying, if they did it, we can do it, right? So it is our time to be strong and to be brave. We don't have to be fearless. We just have to take fearless action. All right. So I love you guys. Shannon, thank you again. And I'll be back next week on Friday and we'll try this whole thing again. Bye.